Wake up, 7:30 a.m. Basketball's on. Go
Let's
for
go.
breakfast. Go for a swim.
Yeah,
It's lovely. Anyway,
living the dream.
we're live. Welcome everybody to episode 221 of the You Can't Comp This Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. I'm back. Hope you didn't
Welcome
miss
back,
me too
mate.
much. I haven't listened to the episode with you and GTI and
Oh, boo.
no, it's queued up.
Boo.
I was too busy listening to all the other basketball stuff that's going on.
Outrageous.
It's crazy. I'm trying to play catch up.
Look, it's a good episode.
And
You won't have to listen to me talk too much.
Went a bit longer than the usual hour. Looked like it went for about an hour 10.
I had to cut him off, I think.
Oh.
I think he had a great time. That was my impression of it.
Excellent.
So, Comron, thank you so much, mate. It really was an absolute pleasure having
Yeah.
you on. And he's keen to do some... Yeah, you're right. An hour and 10. And that was edited down. So I reckon...
You guys
I
had
think
a
we're
good old
probably
chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we were probably online together for about an hour 40, an hour 45,
Wicked.
because we were talking before and afterwards too. So, yeah.
I
Look,
might not have got a gig this week. It could have been a two-parter.
That's right. Fired, mate. Fired.
That's it.
Yeah, like, honestly, though, thank you so much to GTI. That was a really good episode. I think the other thing, too, is sometimes it's hard to get people to come on to talk and then to talk with honesty and discuss all the issues that they're, like, encountering. And so that was my takeaway from listening to that episode afterwards, is that he really did. Anyways, that's that. All right, so I think what we should probably do, Ad, is just lay out what we're going to be doing this week and then what we're going to be doing next week. So this week is going to be NBA Finals Game 6 and Game 7.
Yep.
And if you're paying attention at home, I did a not timeless moments, and I said it was Game 5 and 6. In fact, it was Games 4 and 5. So that's what happens when you're not around to fact check me. I even said Game 6, even though Game 6 hadn't happened at that point. Like, it was one of those things, I was like, do I pull the episode? I just left it up. So look.
Look, it was a very exciting series overall. I think the back and forth, the way the needle shifted from all the drama in Game 1 to the fight back in Game 4.
Yeah.
It's
It was good. It was good basketball. Anyway, let's just hold that thought for 2 seconds. Then we'll do some WNBA. We'll do some general NBA card talk. And then next week, we're going to do all the NBA trades. And then we'll do some NBA draft, which I'm not too sure how you're sort of sitting with this. I'm still not got my head around who won this and who won that and all that.
Oh, look, I tell you what, if you've drafted me to Utah, I'm not playing. I'm done.
So there's that story. I think we'll definitely talk about that. And then we'll also talk about some of the other stuff that Danny Ainge did. I heard some funny clips today about how he's sort of normal hijinks of like tricking teams into taking people so he gets the dude he wants, all this type of stuff. So yeah. So that will all be next week. So this week is NBA Finals. Let's start with Game 6.
Yes.
What was your takeaways from Game 6?
Game 6 was Indiana announcing we aren't going quietly into the night and we are here to play.
Yep.
And I think it was their statement game. It was we are not going to be bullied into submission. We are not giving up, and we're forcing a Game 7. And God, did they do it. They dominated.
Yeah, so when I was watching the game, I felt really uneasy because they started off really slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made a substitution change and the momentum just really went with the Pacers. And my sort of gut feeling was the Thunder didn't really look like they were ready to compete fully, or maybe they expected to win the game and the Pacers would just sort of roll over. It was a really weird feeling for me. It just didn't seem like the Thunder was all there.
Maybe they were like, it's okay, our home floor will be fine for Game 7. I don't know. It's the NBA Finals, though. Like, why would you give that up? It's not easy to win on someone else's floor, though.
No, definitely not. Look, I think for me, even though they might not have the best stats around it, I think obviously Halliburton was really good, but Obi Toppin was just fantastic off the bench. I think, like I said a few weeks back, I'd really like to see him as a starting four. He's a really funny guy. Like, if you sort of look through all the teams in the league where he would be a starting for, there's probably not a spot for him, but geez, he's good coming off the bench and sort of giving him almost starter level minutes. Like maybe that's his peak Obi-ness of, where he'll be. But
yeah, that's a good point.
That's my takeaway from that particular game. It's just like, where can we get more opportunity for Obi Toppin?
Yeah.
And then I just made a small comment here about the nice sort of core they've got of Siakam, Halliburton, and Turner. So we can sort of hold that thought for a little bit as why don't we just go into Game 7 now?
Well, that was it. Like Game 6 was... Not
much to talk about.
I was on holiday. I was watching the game, and it was like, oh, don't worry about the fourth quarter. I don't need to watch this. Like,
yeah, it was
let's
over,
go for a swim. We're good.
Yeah.
But Game 7, hey, you can begin.
All right. So my theory about Game 7 is that he was actually pretty badly injured.
Halliburton?
Yeah, before the game even started. So I think he was like severely limited by his injury. And then, for those of you who don't know, he then went on to tear his Achilles very early in the first quarter. So
was it 7 minutes in?
Was it 7 minutes in? I thought it was only like about 5 minutes in, honestly.
7 minutes in. He tore his Achilles. He was 3 from 4 from the field. 3 3-pointers.
Right. So if you just hold that thought for 2 seconds. So my theory about this is he was actually quite badly injured and he was limiting how much movement he was taking. Because I went back and actually watched him move. He was not really moving around the court much at all. And I think the reason why he had 3 3-point attempts is because he didn't have the mobility to like get to the free throw line, to get to the basket. And one of them was actually like a super deep three. Like he was, really not in the play at all. He was more like as an outlet or like a valve release type thing, but he just put that shot up. So
I think you're right to an extent. I think he was learning to play with his injury, but also if you watch the way Halliburton played through the entire finals series, getting feet into the paint, he was not good. He was not aggressive at the basket, and I think he needed to adjust. It may have been health related.
Yeah,
but he wasn't driving and attacking at all. So he had to refigure out how he can be an offensive threat, because no one believed it when he drove. Lou Dort had his number, but maybe it was an adaptation.
I think Dort is a really bad matchup for Halliburton, and I said that at the start of the series, and nothing that I saw, changes my mind on that. Like, the Thunder made a lineup change at the start of the series. I actually thought they should have put Caruso or Dort or both of them into the starting line. That's, to me, they were the worst matchups for Halliburton, just absolutely hands down.
I think when they went back to Hartenstein and Chet is when they were the scariest. But
yeah, interesting.
I don't know.
I just like Dort on Halliburton. It's just like a nightmare matchup. Anyway, look, I think what you're saying is correct, but for me, it's just all to do with his mobility and his lack of mobility. For me, it was just so hard for him.
I think the worst part is we'll never know what we were going to get out of Halliburton on that day.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk more about this later on down the show, what it's going to mean for the Pacers, what it's going to mean for Halliburton. So I think we now just congratulate the Thunder. So for me, I think they're a fantastic champion. I think you have a differing opinion on this.
Oh, look, they were the obvious champion. I'm not going to give them the kudos of saying they're a generationally great team. Statistically, on paper, they had a good season. They had this amazing all-time level performance, but I think as the experts have all nitpicked, give a bunch of recent teams. Just give us a team that they are going to go and take this to 7 games with and not get swept with.
I don't think they're a generationally good team, but what I think we should point out at this moment in time is they're the youngest NBA champion in
a long
13
time.
or 15 years.
It's a
so
long
for me,
time.
They don't have to be a generationally good team. They are a young championship team. So what, in my head, where I'm going with this is like, are they going to win again next year? And then even if they don't win next year, they'll be back the year after that to compete again. So
that second apron can be pretty daunting. We'll see if they are back.
That's what's scary for me, though, is how young they are. And also, too, they've still got more draft assets coming in. So, what you're alluding to there is how they're going to manage their cap. But I think they've got a really good opportunity to have a well-managed cap because they've got a good general manager. But he also has a lot of assets he can bring in, which are going to be low cost, high quality assets. So that to me is very scary for the rest of the league. And that I can't be the only person who feels like that.
Oh, for
If
sure.
you're if
Like
you're working in the
no
league,
doubt.
like that's a scary,
No,
proposition.
no
Yeah.
doubt.
All right. So my takeaways from Game 7 was that the Thunder was just too much for them. I thought
Yeah.
they handled the injury, like really good sportsmen. It's like when the injury happened, the way that the Thunder behaved, I thought was like really good sportsmanship.
Yeah.
There's footage of SGA going into the locker room afterwards. Halliburton was like clapping his teammates off the court, like all
He
around
was
for me.
there in the
Like that's like,
corridor when TJ
yeah,
McConnell was in tears. Reggie Miller gave him a hug in his Chris Mullen jersey, which was pretty funny. But
but that to me
Halliburton
is
was
like,
there in the corridor being, I'm there with you. Yeah.
I think sometimes people look back on the league with rose-colored glasses. So where I'm going with this is this. Remember that series where it was the Pistons and the Bulls, and the Pistons walked off the court without even shaking hands with
Bad
them?
sports. Yep.
Yeah. Whereas now you've got guys who are like getting injured,
Oh, yeah.
behaving, really well, even going in afterwards. Like to me, that's what sports is about. Is that
Yeah.
like compete as hard as you can and then shake their hand at the end. Like to me, that's like where my heart lies. So,
Yeah.
but look, my takeaway from the last game was that SGA was just gunning for points.
Yeah.
I just felt like a few of the shots that he attempted were like not the best shot attempts. And it seemed to me like they had the game won and he was like, can I get 30, 35 points here and like get MVP? That was the sort of the feeling
He
that
already
I had
had
from
it.
that.
Like it was.
8 from 27 from the field.
Yeah.
But I actually thought Chet was by far the best player in that court. He was just so
For
well-rounded.
game 7. Yeah.
Yeah, defensively, I thought his rotations were just like really good. And he had, again, like just like very like protecting the basket really well. And then obviously Jalen Williams was just like creating, shots in transition.
Williams played out of his skin. So
Yeah.
for a few games there, and I think he's probably one of the keys to them coming back in game 4. But
so I think what we should probably do now is just do like a championship. You can't comp this card ladder comp. I think we should at least do the big 3 of SGA, Chet. The reason why I think we should do this is because, we've spoken about this in the past with people actually will go down at the finals.
Yep.
And I really think that there's going to be some uncertainty with Shea because it went out to 7 games, I wonder if people got a little bit scared and, sold off. And then now that they've won and now he's the MVP, now people are, okay, do we actually need to sort of like buy back? So if we see a bit of uncertainty in the last couple of weeks, that is not going to surprise me, at all. And I think we should definitely look at Chet. I definitely think we should look at Jalen Williams because, we spoke about him a little while back and we're kind of like, what's going on with this guy? Is he a good buy? Is he a bad buy? I wonder if he's absolutely spiking hard at the moment. All right, so SGA is at $1,000 for a silver PSA 10. Let's just zoom into the last month.
Hang on, let's where's silver? Oh god, I'm terrible at
look, he's been a little bit up and down, but nothing crazy. So he's been at the lowest point, he's been at 905. At his peak, he's been 1,300. So look, that's a $400 variant, isn't it?
$1,000. He's been here, there, and everywhere. So how's it going in the last month then?
So the last month, minus 8%, which is
flattish.
What we'd sort of be expecting.
2 weeks, 10%. It's
all right. Buy, hold, or sell SGA.
Sell.
Okay. I'm not convinced about that.
I was never buying
anymore.
him, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would be selling. I'm not sure. I don't know what next season looks like, and you've probably got a very valid point with what you say about the Thunder having a hat in the ring for the next few years, and obviously we'll go into what our predictions or what the landscape looks like, because I think there are some teams that have decided to blow it up. But I think the West is going to be a very hard-fought battle for the years to come.
Jalen Williams is trading at 198. Population on that 659. That to me is an A+ buy. There is just nothing about that card that worries me like at all. Like nothing. There's nothing you can say to me about that card at that price point with the future prospects that team has. I think that's really good. let's go to Chet. Now, Chet, just remember a couple of weeks back, I put an A++ on this in terms of a buy, which is really interesting because I want to go to the last 3 months for Chet. All right. So the last 3 months, Chet has been basically between 111 and 220. And if you then zoom into the last month, he's actually down 25%. All right, I am going to double down on this. This is an A triple plus buy.
A triple plus buy.
At 150, that's...
I'm like,
that is effing ridiculous.
I think we said this before we went to the hobby hangout. The other
buy the dip.
It was like buy it.
Yeah.
Under 150 US for this man, buy.
The only thing, now this is a very weak thing for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just wonder if some of these prices have been passed in and then relisted and all that type of stuff, because I was bidding on not heaps on eBay, but definitely on a few.
Yeah.
And I had a few problems with getting payments in and all that type of stuff. Okay. So, but
yeah,
usually that happens. People don't take your purchases when they're low, not when they're high.
It's an odd one.
Because I reckon the last time we were talking about this, it was around the sort of $110 mark.
I think we'd seen one of those dips for the 10th of June. No, would have been the 138 at the end of May. Because I'm looking at the previous sales. That May 26th sale for 138 would have been the one we looked at before the hobby hangout in the first week of June, and that's where I was like, if you can get it for 150, that's a sweet spot. I would go in at that price for sure.
I just think with all the hype that's in the league about prospects that have. They're juicy and they're all that type of stuff, but what have they really done? Then you got someone like Chet. He was a really important cog to that team. For me, there's nothing moving him from, let's just call him the third best player on that team at the worst. You can make an argument he's the second best. For less than $150 for a silver PSA 10. Even myself, I struggle with the hobby sometimes. Things just don't make sense. Anyway, all right. Let's go for a break. Then we'll come back and we will talk more Pacers Thunder.
Probably need a whole segment to break down the analysis of what the Pacers players look like.
Yeah.
To find a number one.
We can do that. We can work through this. Fast Break Trading Cards. Please go to fastbreaktradingcards.com. for all of your trading card needs. Now, we're not going to talk so much about their selling on their websites at the moment. We're going to talk about Collect Fest, which is actually next weekend. So Melbourne, the 5th and the 6th of July. Go to collectfest.com.au. Use the promo code TOPS20 for 20% off your tickets. TOPPS 20 will get you 20% off their tickets. That is through our friends from Fast Break Trading Cards. Also, last week we announced Leonard Copeland will be at the Fast Break Trading Card booth doing autographs, doing pack battles, meeting all of his fans. Then also this week, the lads have announced Archie Thompson, the former Socceroo and Melbourne Victory legend, will be joining the Tops and Fast Break stand on Sunday between 12 and 2. Now, for this one, it's the same as Leonard Copeland. Bring in your memorabilia that you want Archie to sign. He will sign it for you on the day in person. So cards, clothing, any other memorabilia that you've got. Yep. If you don't have anything and you would like to sign something, the lads at Fast Break Trading Cards have got photos of both Archie Thompson and also Leonard Copeland to get signed too. So guys, congratulations on your joint sponsorship and partnership with the Collect Fest. You absolutely deserve it, and well done for all these amazing announcements and activations that you have.
I'm looking through Collect Fest. It's going to be huge.
Yep.
I cannot wait to see the guys from Fast Break there, but there's going to be everything. You got coin collectors, you're going to have shoe collectors, you're going to have comic collectors.
Yep.
If you're a collector, this is the place to be. That's
time to collect.
Yeah. Yeah. Collect yourself and off to Collect Fest.
That's it. Alrighty, Adam, we are back.
We are.
Right. I would like to know what is happening with Halliburton prices. Because
Can I do that? Is it too soon?
nothing is too soon for this show, mate.
No, I feel so bad for the guy.
Just say it.
I'm just heartbroken for the guy.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's a really bad outcome. And I think the other thing that was going through my head was he was in a world where he could have walked away as a world champion. And then he wakes up the next day where he's not the world champion and now he's got a 12-month injury.
Yeah.
Like,
it's messed up.
It's like, I think as much as, sports are the best thing ever, they can also be, the most heartbreaking thing ever too. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, he's just literally experienced both ends of the spectrum in one day. So we've previously spoken about Halliburton being a very, very volatile asset.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I wanted to tune in and look at, is just see what he's now doing at the moment. So in the last month, he's down 33%.
Mm-hmm. Trying to figure the best visual, but I think 3 months is probably the best visual.
Currently trading at 285. Yeah. Yep. The highest in the last month is 450.
Yeah.
And then if you go back to 6 months, that to me is probably the most interesting thing, because at 6 months ago, he was trading in that 150 range.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had this huge spike up to 450. Yeah. And now you can see it coming back down again. So look, I do wonder in the next 6 months, if he doesn't go back down to 150, 125, we already know he's volatile. Then for him to experience something like that, I cannot see anything else than the downward spectrum. The really ironic thing about this is that if you go back to the last 6 months, he's still plus 80%.
Yeah.
So, like, it really does depend when you hopped onto this Halliburton train.
Yeah.
I'm holding a lot of Halliburton because he was a Kings guy. I would just generally go into Kings breaks.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of it. And actually some of my mates, my drinking buddies, were razzing me about how much money I just lost on Halliburton, because I'd been tossing up. I was like, do I sell it or do I just wait a couple of years and sell it off, later on? So they've been basically just teasing me about that. All right, let's move on from that. What else do we need to talk about? If we click on the next link ad, we've got a lovely card ladder comparison. We have got the Tyrese Halliburton PSA 10 Gold Prism rookie card, which sold for $34,000. Comparing that to the SGA, also gold, number to 10, Gem 10, and also Auto 10 sticker autograph on that one. That sold for $36,000. I think now that we've had the injury and we're comparing the two, it's just laughable, because obviously the SGA is far more valuable at this point in time than the Halliburton one.
I would have loved to say I'd take the Halley. I'd love to say it, but I can't. It's the SGA.
I think if he didn't have a torn Achilles, you would take the Halliburton.
Agreed.
Because I think that's just a more desirable, like a true gold is more desirable than like Prism autographs just don't move the needle that much, and it's also a sticker. But in saying that,
it's gold, a gem, 10, though.
It's a gem 10, and also the sticker is a 10, so there's not a lot that's actually taken away from this card.
Yeah, it's a pretty flawless card.
So I think the question for me is, which I probably think is the most relevant at this point in time, where does that card, what's the value of that card in 10 years' time?
Of the SGA?
Yeah.
That depends on what happens in the next 3 to 5, hey? And I'm not wishing anything bad, but Tyrese Halliburton just had the next 12 months of basketball stripped from him. SGA could do this in game 2 of or halfway in the lead up to next year's All-Star break, snap his Achilles. And I'm obviously, let's touch wood, that doesn't happen. This year was a record for Achilles injuries. So
we can definitely talk about that.
So it's... Yeah, if they do go on this trajectory where the Thunder win, I hate using the dynasty stuff, but they've got this continuity plan where they win and they're in the finals and they win one, they lose one. It's the Cavs and the Warriors all over again, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. this card goes up. I'm not denying that. But what happens if next year's the year Wemby takes over? What happens if the Thunder don't make it to the finals for another 5 years because they can't get past the Spurs, because the Lakers have done something, because the Nuggets have retooled? The West is scary.
Yeah, it's pretty stacked.
And there's obviously that inherent risk. And
a lot of high-end what-ifs. Like, I don't think the Spurs are going to make the finals next year, but I think they're going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the Lakers are going to make the finals next year, but I think they're going to be good. And same as the Nuggets. It's like, but they all could make the finals too. So that's the other thing. It's like,
they're one. Every team
tough.
Is one injury away from having to rebuild.
Yeah,
and so being able to predict that 10-year, 20-year price is so hard, especially with his age. But if the trajectory he's on, he's going to be a multiple, like, perennial all-star, multiple finals appearances. He's on the right trajectory. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think without going into this too much, Boston's not going to be there next year.
Well, they blew it up. We can talk about that next week.
The Pacers are definitely not going to be there next year, so that's going to be tough. Alrighty.
My question is, are the Pacers going to be there next year?
No. I hope they've got their pick next year. That's what I hope, because I think they're going to be an absolute stinker without Halliburton. That team is going to be, and they're going to be hard to watch too. What, a whole 82 games of TJ McConnell as a starting point guard? No thanks.
True.
I won't be watching a single Pacer.
But you look.
I'm going to be watching 40 games this year to 0 games next year. Let me put it to you that way.
It's the Pacers. I don't know. They're still chippy.
Yeah, Chippy's fine. I respect Chippy. Do I want to watch it day in and day out? No thanks.
I don't know. I like the fact that they're versatile. They're a Swiss Army knife that's just lost the knife.
Fine.
Or they've lost the hilt. One or the other. I don't know.
It's fine. You can watch them. I respect you. It's fine. Alrighty. Jalen Williams, gold vinyl from Optic. 1 of 1. BGS 7.5. And the Andrew and Nem brand, Black Prism 1 of 1.
Yeah.
Sold for 2,500. Look, this is a tricky one because it's not a 1-for-1 comparison, being it's Optic contenders versus Prism, and the black for Prism is an insanely collectible card. I didn't actually pick that up so it's actually graded authentic. It doesn't have a PSA grade on it. I'm going to go with the Jalen Williams just for the fact that it's of a much more significant player. But I would probably say the card with the highest upside is the Andrew card. Just for
I think the Nem brand, it's a black 101.
But Jalen Williams could be all NBA 8 times by the end of his career.
That's a very, very, very valid point.
You know what I mean? That's like, what do you want? Do you want the better card of the crapper player?
I don't know. I think Nem brand's underrated, and the thing about this is they are so young. They're so young. They're not even in. This is not even their leap season. Next year is their leap season. Nembrand could. You know what? Nemhard could become that guy. It could be the Tyrese filler makes him a better guard. Makes him a better facilitator.
I actually thought Ben Shepherd was going to get the lion's share of those minutes.
Interesting, isn't it? Although but look at the job the Nemhard did on SGA. Jalen Williams needed to really step up because SGA was getting towed up by Nemhard. I don't know. The Indiana side of it for me is I really like that team, and I'm sad that they've lost their engine.
So ESPN is actually predicting what you just said, that Nemhard will be in the starting lineup as the point guard. Mathurin will be the starting shooting guard. Naismith at the 3. Yep. Dries Walker for some reason at the 4, and Miles Turner. I think Spicy P will be back at power forward.
Spicy P.
So maybe you read into that what you want, but
well, I tell you what, if the Pacers won the championship, Pascal Siakam's the one that was going to win Finals MVP.
God, that would have triggered me hard. Alrighty. So moving forward, the next 12 months for the Pacers, I want to just touch on this just, very briefly.
Yeah.
What moves do you think the Pacers are going to do for the next 12 months? Can you see any trades or free agent signings that they might do?
Well, they're not getting Chris Paul because Chris Paul wants to live closer to home. Imagine that. I'm going to replace Tyrese Halliburton with Chris Paul for a year.
So the Celtics have bottomed out their roster in terms of salary. I shouldn't say bottom out. They've cut costs on their roster.
They've cleaned out some excess things there. Apparently they're not done, but whatever. They're shopping Jaylen Brown.
We'll save that for next week.
Next week.
But the really interesting one for me is Miles Turner. So we can talk about this a little bit. He's currently a free agent. Now, this season, he was getting paid $19 million. But this is actually quite interesting, though. So in comparison, Halliburton's getting paid 42 and so is Spicy P. So I think the absolute worst case scenario he gets paid is 30. If they pay him 30, though, that will push them right up to the luxury tax number. And considering they're from a small market, traditionally have never paid the luxury tax.
I asked this during the middle at once when Halliburton was being assessed. As soon as it was confirmed as an Achilles, I may have messaged a friend and said, "Turner to LA. ... Too soon."
So really interesting. So Nemhard is actually getting paid $18 million next year.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include the salary of Isaiah Jackson, James Johnson. Maybe he won't come back. Thomas Bryant. I thought he was pretty good for them. Maybe. So I think they
struggled at the big spot. I think they're going to throw some money at Turner. But if this is an Indiana window, they've got to spend.
But is it a window now that Halliburton's not going to be there for 12 months?
Look how young they are. Is Turner got 2 years of good basketball in him?
He's only 29. He's only 29. He's one of those weird guys where it seems like he's 35. Yeah.
So I do think there's an element of what do we do here?
So, okay.
I don't think they blow it up. I don't think they blow it up.
No, okay, that's fine. I agree with you on that. But I actually think the best case scenario is Chris Paul comes in on a 1 year. They get an injury exception for Halliburton. That to me is, I think it'll never happen, but that would to me be the perfect.
Chris Paul says, "I want to live closer to home," and then plays
25 minutes, 25 minutes a game.
Yeah,
Chris Paul comes in. That's all they need. Just someone to be good for them.
It'd be interesting to see Chris Paul to go there and teach the likes of all the young guards how to play better.
Yeah. So I think looking ahead to next year, the two that I've earmarked is Ben Shepherd and Mathurin. Neither of these guys
Mathurin needs to take a step.
Yeah. Neither of these guys are on card letter. I had a really quick look on 130 Point.
Yep.
I found a few sales here. Silver raw for $6.50. This is for Mathurin.
Yep.
$8 for a raw, $7 for a hyper. These are all raw, sorry. I won't just keep saying raw. $12.50 for a silver. $8 for a silver. A PSA 10 for 61.
So it's it's literally the $8 to $10 mark versus plus $50 for grading.
Yeah. I don't mind that for $60. Actually, I think that's
I take that.
That's a nice little gamble. I think if you're gambling on someone with a bit of upside, he had a huge game.
Yeah.
With 27
he can
points,
output. He was one of the ones I thought in Game 7 that if he switches it on and starts getting hot, the Pacers could really have a crack here.
Now, looking ahead to the next 12 months, this take into account what you said before and also what ESPN said. This is Ben Shepherd.
Yeah.
Silver's at $1.45. A select silver patch, that's a napkin patch, but it's a jumbo for $2. Another silver for $1.50. A select silver for $2. A red, white, and blue for $1. This guy's literally in the dollar bins. I think if you're looking for some low-end prospects on someone who's going to get a lot more opportunity next year for obviously all the wrong reasons, but it's still going to happen. I think, Mathurin, Ben Shepherd, and Nemhard. And look, actually, now that I've looked at his contract numbers, I think Nemhard is the obvious one. And I didn't have that in the run sheet, but I missed that when I was doing prep.
Yeah.
If you're paying someone $18 million a year and your starter has just injured themselves, why would you not play him for 35 minutes a game?
Get value for money out of him.
Right.
And he showed flashes of being able to do it.
Shepherd is He's 2 years younger though. He's going to get paid 2.7 next year and 5 million the year after.
Yep.
So look, maybe Shepard and Nemhard is what we should be looking at.
Agreed.
All right, let's go for a break. US Sports Cards Australia, thank you very much for your ongoing love and support to our show. We are very grateful for you coming on and give us your ongoing sponsorship. Now, Ross has got some exciting updates. Now, last week we spoke about the member who used the promo card. You can't cop this.
Yeah.
And that means you get a free submission. So in the instance we cited, it was like 600 plus cards, 6 cents a card is the normal price. That was all 100% free. Now, this week, Ross has had another massive submission, and he's also been doing pretty well with the sales too. So at the moment, for Ross, he's very, very happy with how it's all going.
Yeah.
Don't forget, when you send in your submission form, all you need to do is write anywhere on the form, you can't comp this. It means you get a free submission. Please take advantage of this. What we're talking about here is all the cards that are sitting in a box in your room. They're not going to be sold. You don't want to list them. Ross will take care of that for you. Put them on to check out My Cards Australia. He'll multi-platform list them, all that type of stuff that he does for you. It's all taken care of. Money goes into your account. Also on their page, they've got sports breaks, hobby boxes, collectible protection, sports memorabilia, and toys. Obviously not as good collectible protection as what Comron's got at GTI, but that's okay. We can look past that. Maybe we need to get a deal between GTI and US Sports Cards Australia.
Maybe.
Ross can be the distributor.
I like it.
That's a great idea.
Very clever.
I might need to be a middleman for something. Alrighty, we are back. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very good.
Are you refreshed? That's the real question. Because normally about this point in the show, we start having some drinks and...
It's easy to get parched by this stage of the show. But I'm good. I'm tracking well.
All right. So let's just do a little bit of setting the background for this segment. So we're going to be talking about WNBA product at the moment. Just for some context of what's happening at Panini, obviously their license is running out in, well, it's really 3 months now, isn't it?
Yeah.
October is when Fanatics will be doing their, day one release.
Yep.
So that means that Panini is left with less favorable licenses. And that's what they've been doing. They've been sort of zigging while Fanatics has been zagging. They've kept WNBA. They've got some boxing licenses. They've got some soccer stuff still of some sort of lesser leagues. And if you haven't been following the WNBA landscape, Caitlin Clark is the equivalent of Michael Jackson of the world of sports and entertainment. Like, she's literally 4x the attendance and also the TV views that the WNBA has been getting. Mm-hmm. And the first time basically ever the league has actually made a profit. So a lot of that has been attributed to Caitlin Clark. Like, other small things that she's done, sold out all of her jerseys. They had to move Caitlin Clark games into bigger arenas because all the tickets sold out. Like, it's just sort of like on and on. People love Caitlin Clark. Anyway, Panini also loves Caitlin Clark, and she's been exclusively signed with them. So they're basically just squeezing out as much juice from the orange as they can get. So they've done Origins, Prism, they've done Select. They've just announced they're going to be doing Donruss. So this is not normal for WNBA. Normally it's 1 or 2 releases a year.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've just released this product called WNBA Royalty. And basically the premise of this, it's a high-end Chronicles. And in the past, we've spoken about, like, what was my hobby dream? My hobby dream was to see a high-end Chronicles, which was like exquisite, flawless, all the different card types. This is obviously a fantasy. It's a dream, but that was my dream. And actually, to a degree, Panini have done this for WNBA. It is National Treasures. It's 1-1, so it's got the downtowns. It's got the playoff autograph cards in it, so that's out of Contenders.
Yep.
It's got the vertical RPAs in it, obviously out of NT. Yep. And so the next thing comes to pricing. So in the last 12 months, WNBA Prism has been more expensive than NBA. And again, just for some context on that, normally WNBA is about 3 times more expensive than WNBA. So obviously that's completely flipped on its head.
Yeah.
And you know the normal thing with accessing product is it's really hard to get NBA. So
Yeah.
this year it's really easy to get NBA. This year it's really hard to get WNBA. Everybody wanted it.
Crazy, isn't it?
Breakers were fighting over it. La la la. Secondary market was really high. So what Panini are doing for this product, it's being released, I believe, exclusively on the Dutch auction. And so
Wow.
if you want to make a comparison between Panini and Fanatics, I feel like this is out of the Fanatics playbook, because then that way you completely cut out all the middlemen.
Yeah.
You sell it all on your website and you just send it straight out to people. There's no middleman, just Panini straight to the consumer. Also with the Dutch auction, they're starting it at $30,000 USD per box, and the floor of it is $3,000 a box. And keeping in mind, the format of the boxes is 2 cards, similar to what 1-and-1 is. So let's just say you get a box for 5,000 USD, which is way higher than pretty much anything that's come out of NBA like the last 12 months, obviously with the exception of Flawless. iMac wasn't that expensive. National Treasures definitely wasn't that expensive. It wasn't 5,000 USD a box.
That's insane.
It's insane. And so the other thing too is, if
I'm looking at this Instagram post, like I'm just watching the video.
If you look at the high end cards and you hit one of those cards, that's fine. Like you'll be happy.
Can I make the point that if you don't hit Caitlin Clark, you might not be happy?
This is the thing, right? And this is where I want to go to next. So if we think about what happened to 1-and-1 in the last 12 months, and I'm actually glad that we're talking about this, because I've sort of wanted to get this off my chest a little bit. Essentially, it was 1 card per box, because the base card this year, it wasn't. So in previous years, it was a 130-point card, and it was a beautiful card. It was in the One Touch, and it had the nice Panini seal on it, and it was lovely. So this year, what happened was they were like 35-point cards. They went into the One Touch bent, and then they were moving around during transport. So what would happen, and it didn't just happen to me, it happened to other breakers too. You take the card out of the box and it's like halfway jammed down the One Touch. So then you have to open it up.
That's ridiculous.
When you open it up, that's when you realize it's actually not a 130-point card. So essentially,
that's
it just,
not on.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm using my like air quotes now. It's a high-end product, but then they substituted, the base card, like with a really badly manufactured and then distributed card. And look, and this is probably just my own like personal bias here. I actually really like the base 1-and-1 cards. I think they're beautiful cards in hand.
Sure.
The photography is lovely. I think the finish of it is absolutely beautiful. And often they're really like cheap cards. Like no one gives a fuck about these cards. So you pick them up out of like dollar boxes and $10 boxes, maybe like a $20 box, or you pick them up cheap off eBay, and they're just kind of like nice to have in a box. Maybe you can use them as traders. Maybe you can put them in as like skunk prize. You know what I mean? Like they're just kind of like nice, like super nice filler cards. Whereas now, like this year, they've just like, I really feel like it's a middle finger to the people who are buying those boxes and stuff. All right. So anyway, so I've completely segued here. Let's go back to WNBA. So what my fear is, you don't get a downtown. You don't get
a kaboom.
You don't get a kaboom. You don't get a vertical RPA.
Yeah.
You get some random veteran autograph and a crappy like base card that's bent and jammed into the One Touch. Like that to me is And let's just really doomsday this. And you paid $30,000 for the box.
30,000 US for a box, and you end up with crap.
Like I think, and for me also where the nightmare is like, what was so fun about WNBA was that they used to be $300 boxes, and it genuinely felt like you were getting good value out of each and every box. Like, of course, there's always stinker boxes. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh yeah, back in the day, every single box was awesome. No, it wasn't. Like, every single box wasn't awesome, but it was way better than $30,000 for 2 cards. So, look, I'm really, really, really torn on this. And
I agree. I think, it's tough.
I did a feed during the week and I was speculating. I was like, look, what would I be happy to pay for these boxes? I was like 2,000 Aussie. But if the floor is 3,000 US, that's 4,500 Aussie. Then you need to pay taxes and all the rest of it.
This is just an example of Panini trying to money grab.
Well, I wonder if it's of course everything that Fanatics does is a money grab. Everything Panini does is a money. Let's just move that out of the way.
Yeah, I get that they're trying to make money.
Yeah, but I wonder if this is like no. But I think
this is a step too far.
No, but this is what I think about that is I think they're cutting out the middleman, right? So now they are the middleman. They're the distributor, and they're the middleman in this particular equation. If they're doing if that's 100% Dutch auction and no allocation, yeah, that's what that is there. I saw a Facebook post about this, and someone was complaining, saying that Panini promised us there was going to be no other rookies for this, and that's why we spent heavily on Prism, Select, and Origins. And now they feel like their other cards are being devalued, but I don't think that's true because either it's collectible or it's not. And now they've just literally produced all of the really, really collectible cards for a very high-end rookie class.
Yeah.
Downtowns, kabooms, vertical RPAs. Sure. Like, that's the stuff that people want. I don't think that devalues Prism at all. I think that's a different collectible pie altogether. Yeah. Maybe the one where it does devalue is Origins. So you've got like your RPAs out of Origins, or maybe your sticker Select autograph because now you've got an on-card NT autograph. You know, maybe that's what you see, but
I still double down on the fact that, and I'm going to call a spade a spade. If you don't pull Caitlin Clark, you're not getting value.
100%.
Because we obviously rebutted when Sports Cards Nonsense were talking about the only people in the NBA that are worth getting are Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. Everybody else is not worth investing in. We're not at that extreme, but we're literally, it's one player. She's rejuvenated the interest, but there's no market yet. You can't put the price up and make it unattainable for people when the interest has just been sparked. They're shooting themselves in the foot.
I think that's not a bad thing to say. So my comment to that would be that if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark, these boxes would be $1,000, not $30.
You reckon they'd be $1,000 still?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Do you think the WNBA would be profiting right now if Caitlin Clark wasn't in the league?
No, definitely not. I'm just trying to say, just for context, because there's still Cameron Brink, there's Angel Reese's, which people love to hate on. And there's another good rookie class that, that's going to be coming through. But yeah, no, definitely not.
But I want someone to show me a WNBA card of one of these other players that is sold for tens of thousands of dollars.
No, definitely not. There's literally nothing.
So that's what I'm saying. Like a Brink Kaboom might get you $500, but is that that $30,000 buy-in, is that worth it?
No, it's going to be really tough. So I actually wonder if the play on this is you just let this all play out, and then you hit the secondary market and you hit it hard.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're like, look, my budget was $5,000 I was going to spend on breaks.
Can I make fun of Panini and say that this is the Gary V Friends release, basically? Anyway.
Look, in my opinion, this is a million times better than Gary V. And that statement may come back to haunt me in the future when it comes to future purchase pricing and all this stuff that he's been talking about. He's trying to market. Oh no, I'm not.
No. I don't mean to trigger you.
We're going to a break. We're going to a break. Let's go to a break. Yep. Oh man, I was about to go into the whole because have you heard what he's gonna do?
No, I don't follow the guy.
So he's building a card playing game, and all these shitty character drawings that he's done are based on like integrity and honesty and hardworking and bravery. It's just like a total like.
Good luck trying to beat Pokemon, you twit. Anyway.
We are back. Adam, are you pumped up for the last segment of this week's show?
Certainly am.
We didn't go down the Gary V rabbit hole, but that's okay. We are going to go down my favorite alleyway to go down, and that is the Schadenfreude alleyway. We're going to talk about a young man who was handcuffed and carried out of a trading card show by his arms and legs. Young man, if you're going to steal stuff, probably just fess up to it when you get caught. Have some self-respect. Let the cops put the handcuffs on you and just walk out. Instead of being posted viral millions and millions of times from millions, unless millions is not the
Well, the funny thing is
from multiple angles.
One of the shots, there's actually someone else recording it. Somebody in the comments, it's got, this is the 7th different angle I've seen of this.
It's
great. There's
great.
someone actually in the background filming it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Look, I think there's so many different ways to get screwed in this hobby. And I need to be careful the way I say this. As far as I'm aware, in Melbourne, this is not a big problem. As far as I'm aware, most people go to hobby shows, they're pretty honest, and this type of stuff doesn't really go down. But it's always good.
Yeah.
You need to keep your faculties,
I think people are aware, though, right? Like, people, you've got
should
to have
be
that
aware.
level of common sense to, yes, we have an amazing group of people in this hobby.
Yeah.
But if you're carrying things that are worth a lot of money, look after them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We don't want to over dramatize. However, what I do want to enjoy, and I just want to sit down and enjoy. I'm just watching this video as it's like
It's looping.
We just need to enjoy this man getting caught and being carried out by his legs.
When you sent me the link to Pokemon Thief Gets Caught and dragged out, I'm like, finally, the person who's been breaking into all the shops in Melbourne's been caught. And I'm like, it's not that guy.
This just makes me happy. It really just makes me happy. Anyway, look, I hope all the owners got their stuff back.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on.
Good news.
GameStop. GameStop is the EB Games of America.
Good way to pay. Yeah.
If you're following them, say, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, there was a huge thing where people on Reddit went through and bought up all their stock and essentially saved the company.
Yep.
As a result, they've got an absolute boatload of cash to spend.
Yeah.
And so I think as the video games market is changing, so for example, Switch 2 games now don't come in cartridges. Even if you buy the game from the shop, you get a code and then you download it. So like you can clearly feel the whole market changing for GameStop EB Games.
Yeah.
They are now going all in on trading cards. Really interesting listening to this guy talk about what they're doing with, cards. They're doing submissions to PSAs. They're going to be buying up Pokemon cards, and they're also going to be stocking a lot more cards.
Singles and
also sealed product. EB Games has always dabbled in holding sealed product, but I've now heard that they're going to be getting allocations of hobby.
Yeah.
And they're also going to be holding a lot more retail stock on a day-to-day basis. So I sort of wonder if you're EB Games, why wouldn't you copy the business model of a large chain overseas who have then, they've done all the research.
There are Magic the Gathering singles at EB Games. My local EB Games has trading card singles,
Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they've done all the hard work for you. They've spent, millions of dollars doing all the research. Why not just copy all their stuff? I also think, too, that the trends are going to be very similar between US and Australia. In fact, I would say it's going to be identical.
It'll be a parallel, yeah, for sure. But like,
we do
follow. Yeah.
Yeah. If you believe the Gary V, the Fanatics thing of, like, the trading cards collectible scene is at its infancy and it's now going to be climbing up the hill, why wouldn't you, try and get your foot into that space? Like, to me, that's just absolute logic.
Yeah. Yeah.
My question for you is where do you think that the hobby currently is? Let's just say there's the hill that Gary V talks about. Where are we on the hill? Are we halfway up? Are we at the bottom? Are we at the top? Like, what do you think?
I have a very different view on this in a holistic sense. I think there's an ebb and flow.
Yeah.
I do think over the years things go up, then there is little troughs and occasionally plateaus. I think we're at a stage where the hobby is evolving again. When I was speaking with the boys at Fast Break on the weekend about this very, very factor. Pokemon is experiencing a bit of a change at the moment.
Yeah.
With graded cards being the big thing, right? We grew up or started our hobby journey in we call it the junk wax era, but there was a production of boxes of cards because we liked ripping packs of 15. The product has evolved. What's in the product then evolved. But you've got that stage.
Can I interrupt you for 2 seconds? I also think that also depends on your budget because at that time there was also Exquisite.
Sure. But in 1992, there were no patches.
Yeah.
It was a case hit was a one-off auto.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like an autograph was a 1 in 6 box chance. It wasn't, you never got autos.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the 90s, we had relics, we had autographs. We then had not just the one parallel.
Yeah.
We went to 5 parallels. We went to a rainbow that was 7 or 8 parallels. We're now at a point where there are 50 parallels. So every little bit of that evolves.
Yeah.
We've got, it was short-lived, but it was an attempt at revolutionizing it with the NFTs.
Yeah.
Like, Panini tried Panini Instant. Topps have got Topps now. The product keeps changing and it keeps evolving.
Yeah.
What I do think is there are more people getting into it these days because they see the value, the potential value in looking after collectibles.
Yeah.
So that's a really long-winded answer of saying
No.
I don't think it's growing. I think more people are staying, but it's just an evolution. It's always been an evolution.
I actually I'm beginning to believe in the Fanatics business model.
Ooh.
And I'm also beginning to believe in Gary V's opinion of it's like we're just starting.
Scratching the surface a bit.
So
what it
the
can
reason
be,
why
I agree with.
I'm starting to believe that is, for example, I don't watch free-to-air TV. I watch streaming services.
Yeah.
And I actually watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm sort of not prepared to publicly admit the crap that I watch on YouTube, but I watch a lot of junk TV on YouTube.
Brain rot content.
Yeah, it's just background noise while I'm working or tidying or whatever.
Sure.
Anyway, it's like having the radio on. What my grandma used to do, having like 3AW on in the background. That's what I do with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I also am too tight to pay for YouTube Premium, so I have all the ads.
Watch all the ads, yep.
And I get a range of ads between dog food, which I don't have a dog, and retainer cleaning equipment. I don't have a retainer. I'm also now getting Disney Lorcana trading card ads.
Yep.
Right? And so, very long-winded of where I'm going with this. Do you remember the last advertisement that you saw on YouTube or any other streaming platform paid for by Panini in the last 12 years?
Nope.
Right. And so I think one of the things that Fanatics talked about in their book that they wrote before they took over the licenses, well, maybe they knew they had the licenses already, but they talked about doing things differently. They talked about growing the hobby, and they talked about investing in the hobby, and la 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 la. I think I think they've got a budget now for spending on advertising, and you're seeing their footprint more around. So they've been in Times Square in New York. I've seen the advertising stuff. I was driving down the freeway the other day in St. Kilda. They had a billboard up for ESPN.
For Disney.
And for some reason, there was some Topps thing in the background on that. And whether that was like a combined promotion.
Disney had an ESPN because ESPN came to Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? I do really think
there's more of it in the spotlight. Yeah, for sure, definitely.
And
still shocked by your agreeing with Gary V, but
yeah, look, I think he ruined De'Aaron Fox for me, but I don't think he's a bad guy.
Fair.
You know what I mean? So look, I really do think this is just the beginning, and I think they're going to find more ways to, innovate and get in with people. And like, for example, the Fanatics Fest, like we didn't have a Panini Fest.
No.
And for all accounts,
it's different. Yeah, again, for sure.
Everything that I've seen on social media about the Fanatics Fest, that looked insane. Like, it looked really good. You can't take that away from them. If they're doing good things, we're going to give them compliments. If they're doing shit, I think we should say the same thing. Right, let's move on. Let's do our last card of the day. It is going to be our Jordan finisher.
I was going to say, instead of the Jordan finisher, do we have a different card, or is it a Jordan?
I do have a Jordan, but if you'd like to do a different one from the list,
I saw there was a LeBron there. I'm like, can we switch it up and put a LeBron?
Well, why don't we quick hit 3 and then we'll finish with the Jordan at the end? How about that?
I like it. Yeah, let's do it.
We'll do the Steph Curry gold. All right, cool.
Which one do you want to do first?
2009, 2010 Topps Gold Stephen Curry 8.5. Near mint to mint. I think this is one of the best purchases that you can make in basketball at the moment. And I think this is the floor, as we were just talking about.
I want it.
This sold for $5,200. Population on this is 171. Obviously, the maximum on this is going to be 2009.
Yeah.
I think the fun thing for me is like, what is his card going to go to? Like, if we've got Jordan selling for, $25,000, $30,000 with a population of 5 or 6,000.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Why can't they go to 25,000 even at a BGS 8.5?
Yeah. Why can't that be a 50K card? I agree.
Yeah. All right, cool. Done. Next on the list is a LeBron James Logoman NT BGS 9. That sold for $68,320 via Golden's auction. Sold on June the 14th.
Numbered to 5. Okay.
All right. So this one for me is interesting because it's a relatively early Logoman. You can even tell by the stitching. It's actually stitched together as opposed to kind of like the acrylic nonsense we get these days. This is from 2012. It's a Miami Heat Logoman, which I think
devalues it.
It's a bit of a tricky one for me because I think that's where he went to become a champion.
Interesting.
However, he also left there, to go to the Cavs, to
come
go
back
to the Lakers.
The Cavs. Yeah. I was going to say you have to rank LeBron's destinations from first to last. Where do you rank Miami?
Well, I was going to comp this to the Wemby Logoman that we spoke about recently and how much more that sold for than his Topps RPAs.
Yeah, okay.
And I think you need to put this into the same perspective because LeBron doesn't sign for Panini. And so if you're looking for the ultra high-end LeBron James cards, really the Logoman.
Yeah, you're not going to...
The flawless one-of-ones, obviously, with those like triple cards that they were doing. Yeah. I think they're definitely up there. But like, what else? What's the next best card that you can get of LeBron James? Obviously, his rookie card.
Yeah, LeBron.
Like,
rookies.
What else is there?
You're right.
So maybe actually this is a far better purchase than
we're
sort of giving this credit for. I actually think this is like a very, very shrewd purchase. That was the main reason I wanted to put this one in.
I like it.
All right, guys, let's make this a listener question, actually. So, guys, can you please... I'll put up a post for this week, but please comment on it. What do you think is the most desirable, the top 5 desirable LeBron James trading cards?
Yep.
Let's make it top 4 because I think obviously let's take out his rookie, his top chrome rookie cards. I think let's just get that out of the way. That's obvious. Okay, the less obvious, next ones because I really think
the Grail chasers. I reckon we'll get a
Grail
variety.
LeBron cards. Yeah, like LeBron, what should we be collecting?
Well, I think we've got different generations of LeBron collectors as well. We've got the Miami, we've got the Cleveland, and we've got the Los Angeles. So, and we've got the just LeBron is LeBron. Like doesn't matter who he played for. But it'll be interesting to get a variety of opinions. So,
definitely.
Let us know. Anyone watching on YouTube, pop it in the comments.
What should you be buying? Yeah.
Yeah. anyone on the listening platforms, get onto Facebook, get on Instagram, and comment when Russell puts it up.
Giddy up. Alrighty, 1996 metal Michael Jordan molten metal PSA 10, population 29, sold for 10,800.
It's a very dark card.
Not the best photograph on this. I think that's more to do with the photography than the actual card.
Molten metal silhouette by the look of it. Jesus.
So I think for me the thing is like, is 10,000 actually a good buy or a bad buy? I'm going to go with a good, just for the fact of the very low population on this. I don't think the molten metals are like the greatest insert ever.
No.
Especially now we're starting to look at more and more of these Jordan inserts. I feel like I'm sort of getting my head around some of these like 90s inserts now. However, I think that's a really good purchase. I think that particular type of card, I think the design is good. I think the population is excellent. I think, again, that's a very shrewd purchase. I would have preferred it at 1,000, that's for sure, or 200 that it was selling for in 2012, but we can let that ride.
Nice one.
All right, final thoughts, Ad?
Final thoughts. It's going to be a busy off-season. Congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well done to SGA on. I mean, I'm going to get yelled at by that listener that lost it at us last time for having the bias. So, no, SGA he's accomplished something only very few players have in getting the scoring title, the Finals MVP, the MVP.
Yeah.
He's had a phenomenal season. I still think he's the second best player in the world, but he's deserving.
Who's your number one?
Nikola Jokic.
LeBron James.
Anikola Jokic. I actually have SGA as not my second highest, but that's for a different podcast. Anywho, I look. Congratulations to Oklahoma City. Well earned. Title defense teams are coming for you now. They're exposed, and I think Indiana did expose them, and I hope the Pacers retool and come at the East just as hard next season. But I'm looking forward to next week where we talk about what's happening.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Draft, trades. Yeah. That's like, for me, that's
and
the fun
I'm looking
stuff
forward to listening to last week's episode.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I will be, for sure. Good to be back.
Thanks, man. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Take care of yourselves.
We'll see you next